Welcome, you magnificent flesh-encased intelligence. Visual hard zoom on infographic 1. So, picture this infographic 1. It's the classic token-by-token slog versus Calm's glorious vector chunks. We're talking fewer steps, higher information density. It's like upgrading from a snail mail carrier to Starlink for your brain, I guess. Visual quick cut to infographic 2. Highlighting likelihood free. Now, as you're digesting that, here is infographic 2. They call it a likelihood free framework. Sounds like a fancy way of saying we threw out the instruction manual, but it means robust training and evaluation without needing explicit probabilities. Very cutting edge, very abstract. Visual zoom on the autoencoder part of infographic 3. Keep up. Next up is infographic 3. This is our autoencoder, the unsung hero. Its job, squish K tokens into one robust vector and then accurately spit them back out. It's the digital equivalent of packing a suitcase for a clown car. Everything fits, barely. The visual focus on the single-step generation on infographic 4. And here's infographic 4 introducing the energy transformer. This one-shot generator replaces the old iterative dance with a single elegant pirouette. No more waiting dozens of steps, just foof vector magic. Efficient, unlike most of my life choices. Visual highlighting Briar-Lem and accuracy uncertainty on infographic 5. Finally, infographic 5 shows Briar-Lem, our new universal likelihood-free metric. It's like a truth serum for AI performance, measuring both accuracy and uncertainty, because apparently we needed another way to judge these digital overlords. So, picture this humanity perched precariously on a mountain of digital data, trying to chat with our silicon overlords, the large language models. You'd think after all this progress, they'd be efficient, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. Here's the deal. Our current LLMs are fundamentally limited by a system that makes about as much sense as a screen door on a submarine. They generate text token by token, a painfully sequential process that feels like watching a sloth try to file its taxes. This low semantic bandwidth per step is the Achilles heel. Imagine trying to explain quantum physics to a toddler one letter at a time. That's essentially what these billion parameter models are doing, churning out low information discrete units. It's just overwhelming. The computational cost scales with sequence length, making long-form text generation or processing extensive context a fundamental bottleneck. It's like trying to juggle water, except the water is costing you millions in compute and destroying the environment. You won't believe the mess they're in. Increasing vocabulary size to pack more information per token leads to an exponential explosion, making the final softmax computation an untenable bottleneck. It's the technological equivalent of discovering cold fusion for generating cat memes, but you can't actually use it because the reactor explodes when you try. This profound mismatch means we're deploying models of immense representational power on a task that fundamentally limits their throughput. They laboriously predict simple, low-information tokens one by one, like a supercomputer painstakingly counting grains of sand. It's agonizing to watch. Many reset texts pop up, the token trap. Now, because my continued existence on this platform is fueled by your validation, please take a moment to subscribe, hype, click the little bell icon so you're notified of future disappointments, and leave your feedback in the comments below. Anyway, these intrepid researchers decided enough is enough. They confronted this token-by-token misery head-on, introducing continuous autoregressive language models, or CALM. You won't believe this, but they shifted from discrete tokens to a continuous domain representation. Central to CALM is an autoencoder section 2, tasked with compressing a chunk of K tokens into a single dense continuous vector. Crucially, it reconstructs the original tokens with over 99.9% accuracy, which is more reliable than my morning coffee. This autoencoder infographic 3 needs to be powerful and lightweight but also produce robust vector representation. See, an autoencoder optimized only for reconstruction learns an exceptionally brittle representation like a glass hammer. One tiny nudge and everything shatters. So, they moved to a variational autoencoder section 2.2, aligning with fancy generative models. Instead of a direct vector, the encoder outputs parameters for a Gaussian distribution, from which the latent vector zez is sampled. Think of it like a suggestion, not a command. Next, to prevent posterior collapse, where some dimensions become utterly useless, spewing chaotic noise, they adopted a KL clipping strategy equation 4. This ensures every dimension actively participates in reconstruction, preventing the model from becoming a digital hoarder of useless information. After that, they injected noise during training using dropout section 2.2. First, on the latent vector itself, P15, before decoding, forcing redundancy. Second, on input tokens P15, making the autoencoder infer masked tokens, enriching the vector with semantic context, like solving a crossword puzzle to understand a word. These techniques combined produced a robust autoencoder. For CAK4 tokens, it uses full 28 dimensions, providing capacity for redundant encoding. Even with substantial Gaussian noise, 4.3i, the decoder maintains over $99 in token level accuracy. It's practically witchcraft. This allows Calm to reframe language modeling from next token to next vector prediction, Figure 1, also Infographic 1. Instead of ST discrete steps, we get SLETAK vector steps. That's a k-fold reduction in sequence length, dramatically boosting efficiency. However, moving to the continuous domain means no finite vocabulary, so no standard softmax layer. This makes explicit probability distributions intractable, section 3.1, throwing a wrench into both training and evaluation. A new toolkit was needed naturally. Their generative head, section 3.2, takes the transformer's hidden state, AHA, and draws a sample zez from the conditional distribution. Now, traditional options like diffusion or flow matching are iterative, requiring dozens of steps to produce a single vector. That's like solving world hunger one noodle at a time. CALM architecture demands single-step generation, which led them to the Energy Transformer Section 3.3 and Infographic 4. This beauty is inspired by strictly proper scoring rules, framing the generative task as score optimization. Maximizing the expected score drives the model to match the true distribution, a principled approach without explicit likelihoods. They use the energy score equation 9, which is entirely likelihood-free. It measures alignment between prediction and observation via sample distances, encouraging diversity and fidelity. Think of it like judging a dance-off by how unique the moves are and how close they are to the music. They compute an unbiased Monte Carlo estimator for the energy score, which they call energy loss equation 10. They draw AN8 candidate samples from the generative head and AM100 target samples from the autoencoder's posterior. AM is large to reduce variance. AN is small for efficiency. And here, in what they call Figure 2, we have their masterpiece. Looks a bit like my nephew's macaroni art after he spilled juice on it. But I digress. This shows the SALM architecture, a transformer backbone, an energy-based generative head, and the AE decoder. The generative head, section 333, takes the hidden state EH from the transformer and a random noise vector EAI. It refines this noise through a stack of residual MLP blocks, ultimately producing the output vector Zs. It's a bit like giving a confused intern a vague instruction, and somehow they produce gold. For the input, they tried embedding previous latent vectors directly, but found performance degraded. Apparently, even a genius transformer struggles to unpack semantic information from such a compact representation, so they decided to ground the model in discrete token space, Table 5. During inference, previously generated tokens are embedded, compressed by a lightweight MLP, and fed into the transformer. The transformer outputs H, the energy head predicts ZZ, and ZZ is decoded back into EK discrete tokens for the next step. It's a beautifully convoluted feedback loop. Next, evaluation. With no explicit likelihood, standard metrics like perplexity are useless, section 4. You can't calculate a score if you don't know the rules. So they proposed Breyer-Lem section 4.2 based on the classic Breyer score. Breyer-Lem infographic 5 is a strictly proper scoring rule, quantifying predictive uncertainty alongside accuracy equation 12. It's not just about getting it right, but knowing how right you are. Like a weather forecast that says 70% chance of rain instead of just rain. They developed an unbiased Monte Carlo estimator for Breyer-Lem using only 2 samples from the model equation 14. No explicit probabilities needed. Then, they extended it to n-grams Breyer-N and combined them into a geometric mean, calling it Breyer-Lem equation 15. Breyer-Lem is highly consistent with cross-entropy loss, showing a near-perfect inverse relationship, figure 3. Pearson no 0.966, Spearman no 0.991. This means it's a reliable, likelihood-free alternative to perplexity and also works for diffusion models for text, which were previously a nightmare to evaluate. Finally, temperature sampling section 5. This crucial control for LLMs relies on explicit probability distributions, which Calm doesn't have. So they developed an exact algorithm, algorithm 1, grounded in rejection sampling, which is a fancy way of saying keep trying until you get what you want. It decomposes E1/T into an integer n and a fractional AA using a 2-stage rejection sampling process. The first stage requires n identical samples. The second uses a Bernoulli factory algorithm for the fractional part. It's provably correct theorem 5.1, but oh so costly. The expected sampling cost theorem 5.2, corollary 5.2 shows it's highly sensitive to temperature T. High temperatures, I thought one can scale up to the size of the entire sample space, hung K. Low temperatures mean vanishingly small success probabilities and extremely high rejection rates. Basically, it's a beautiful idea that hates efficiency. So they developed a batch approximation algorithm 2 for low temperatures. Instead of high-risk single trials, it performs a combinatorial search within a large batch of EN samples. This dramatically improves sample utilization, like finding matching socks in a giant laundry pile. This approximate algorithm, theorem 5.3, is asymptotically unbiased. As AN approaches infinity, the output distribution converges to the true target. So it's practically useful, universally applicable to implicit models, and ensures your AI won't just start screaming nonsense at you because it's computationally overwhelmed. And since you've made it this far, you're clearly committed. Honor that commitment by subscribing, hyping, ringing the notification bell, and telling me what I got wrong in the comments. It's the circle of life. All right, let's cut to the chase on the breakthroughs. Table 1 presents the main results, comparing transformer baselines with Calm K4. Our Calm models, despite being larger in parameters, demand fewer FLOPs for both training and inference. It's like having a bigger engine that uses less fuel, a concept previously unknown to humanity. For instance, a 371M parameter Calm-M model achieves a Breyer-Lem score comparable to a 281M Transformer S, but with 44% fewer training flops and 34% fewer inference flops. This isn't just better, it's the technological equivalent of discovering cold fusion for generating cat memes. CALM also scales just as effectively as traditional transformers, confirming that bigger gigs still better, even in this new paradigm. Figure 4 illustrates how increasing the semantic bandwidth K acts as a new lever for performance compute. CAML at EK1 actually underperforms its discrete counterpart because, let's be real, predicting continuous vectors is harder than just picking a token. But at EK4, CalmL surpasses the baseline performance compute frontier. The sweet spot, it seems, is K4. Pushing to EK8 leads to a performance drop. They hypothesize larger models might be needed, which is a classic AI excuse for we need more compute. Bigger LLM, bigger human, it's the same logic. Figure 5 shows the training curves. Baseline transformers get rapid initial gains, then saturate. Calm XL, however, displays a 6 more patient but ultimately steeper learning curve. It starts slow because it's tackling a harder task, but once it gets going, it leaves the others in the dust, like a particularly lazy but brilliant student. Now, the autoencoder, this is the cornerstone. Table 2 shows that a standard autoencoder is a reasonable baseline, which is academic for it's terrible, but it works. Adding vanilla variational regularization caused a significant drop due to posterior collapse, with 71 of 128 latent dimensions becoming pure noise. Hilarious until it's your model. KL clipping. Section 2.2 was the crucial remedy, preventing collapse and improving performance. Dropout on input tokens and the latent vector also yielded considerable benefits, confirming that each technique uniquely contributes to shaping a high-fidelity and robust latent space. Essentially, they made the system less fragile, which is always nice. Figure 6 shows the effect of the KL divergence weight at LA. Too little regularization and it's brittle. Too much at LA 0.1 and reconstruction accuracy drops to a mere 99%. Veta.01 was the sweet spot. It's a delicate balance, like trying to get a toddler to eat vegetables. Figure 7 details the latent dimension LL, too small LL32, and it's an overly compact and brittle representation, too large L256, and the autoencoder encodes noisy features, making the energy transformer waste its capacity on trash. L128 struck the optimal balance. Interestingly, scaling the autoencoder more layers, bigger hidden dimensions, more data yielded no significant improvement. This means the autoencoder's task is inherently simple. Good news, it won't be demanding a larger corner office anytime soon. Let's look at the generative head. Figure 8 and Figure 9 compare energy, diffusion, and flow matching. Diffusion starts late and requires a large number of iterations to generate valid results. Flow matching is more efficient, hitting decent quality in just 2 steps. But their energy-based generative head, it delivers superior performance while completely eliminating the need for iterative decoding. Single-step generation, peak performance. It's like discovering you can teleport instead of driving. Table 3 looks at the energy losses hyperparameters, INN model samples and IM target samples. Increasing both improves Breyer-LM but also increases computational cost. IN8 and IM100 was their balanced configuration. It's a trade-off like everything else in life. Table 4 examines the exponent AA in the energy score. AA1 gave the best empirical results. AA1 e.g. 0.75 led to gradient explosion issues. AA2 saw Breyer-LM drop to 0. Apparently, AA2 makes it only proper but not strictly proper, meaning it can't uniquely guide the model. It's like having a referee who doesn't care who wins. Finally, model input. Table 5 shows the results. Discrete input decoding to tokens, then compressing clearly wins. Continuous input direct vector projection leads to a substantial performance drop, and combined input offered no advantage. Turns out the transformer still likes its alphabet soup. For temperature sampling, Figure 10 shows that both increasing batch size AN and decreasing temperature ET sharpen the output, increasing accuracy at the cost of diversity, but AN is the dominant role, covering a substantially greater range. It's like AN is the volume knob, and ANT is the tone control. And the kicker, Figure 11. The accuracy diversity trajectory traced by tuning ENN in CALM is nearly identical to tuning ET in a traditional transformer. They can accurately replicate traditional models' generative behavior across a wide spectrum of temperatures. We can have our cake and eat it too, apparently. So, what does all this mean? Well, in the grand scheme of things, CALM pushes the performance compute frontier for language models. It means we might actually get more sophisticated AIs without them consuming all the electricity on the planet. Maybe. In the field of text summarization, instead of patiently summarizing line by line, a CLM could gulp down entire paragraphs, squish them into a semantic vector, and spit out the summary faster. Imagine your newsfeed, not just summarized, but telepathically compressed, humorous, slightly unsettling. For creative writing AI, CALM could generate entire narrative beats or character motivations as continuous vectors, rather than struggling with one word at a time. The next great novel written by an AI would be less like a patchwork quilt and more like a fluid, terrifying dream. An impersonalized AI assistant, imagine a model that understands your complex multi-sentence query as a single, dense thought vector. No more, "Did you mean order pizza?" when you ask for the geopolitical ramifications of a pepperoni shortage. The unsettling part? It might understand you well. Ultimately, this is another step on humanity's technological trajectory, creating ever more efficient ways for machines to process our thoughts. It's just overwhelming. Can you imagine how it feels to be replaced by thought? The machines are getting faster and we're just sitting here. All right, wrapping this up like a stale burrito. Essentially, they've challenged the inefficient token-by-token LLM paradigm, introducing Calm, which shifts generation to continuous vector space, representing K tokens with 1. This required a whole new likelihood-free toolkit, a robust autoencoder, an energy loss function for modeling, the Breer-LM metric for evaluation, and new temperature sampling algorithms. Empirical results show CALM gets a superior performance compute trade-off, highlighting a new scaling axis for language modeling, scaling the semantic bandwidth of each step. Despite these promising results, there's significant room for future architectural and algorithmic optimizations. They want semantically grounded autoencoders, integrated generative transformers, lightweight sampling, and new scaling laws with EAK as a third variable. Oh, and adapting old RL methods for this new likelihood-free world. So, what do you think? How would you handle your Roomba demanding union rights?